Alfred Adler. Adler is regarded as the founding name of social psychology. In his theory that social interest plays a fundamental role, he states that, unlike Freud, the motivational goal of man is not pleasure, but spiritual development, approval, power, and security. According to Adler, the main purpose of individual psychology is the social adaptation of the individual. The theoretical views of Adler and Freud differ from each other with a very clear line. This difference is as follows. According to Freud, human behavior has been determined by past life experiences. Adler, on the other hand, believed that we were strongly influenced by what we want for the future and our dreams. Striving for future goals and expectations can influence and change current behavior. Adler considered humans as conscious beings who are aware of their own motivations. In general, Adler's influence on post-Freud psychology is great. The optimistic doctrine, which defends that human beings are social individuals acting consciously, became very popular, especially in the USA, and influenced later schools, especially humanistic school. In addition, Adler's book, Getting to Know Human Nature, which is the founder of Nero's doctrine, it is counted among the basic works of modern psychology. Some psychologists have claimed that Adler was ahead of his time with his emphasis of cognitive and social variables. Karen Horney. When Karen Horney was a teenager, her father and brothers described her as incompetent. Karen Horney studied psychology at university and gradually became one of the giants of psychology. She named her views about the personality through her own anxieties as basic anxiety theory. In fact, these views characterize the anxiety his father and brothers created over her. In the following years, as a student of Freud, she became a successful psychologist and a famous feminist. So, what is Karen Horney's basic theory of anxiety? Let's look briefly. The basic anxiety is the parent's superiority attitude, lack of protection, lack of love, and inconsistent behavior, and etc. She states that this attitude develops as a result, but unlike Freud, Karen Horney looks positively into the future. According to her, anxiety can be cured. If not, 10 neurotic needs arise as a defense. What are these? Let's have a look. 1. Setting an exaggerated need for affection and approval. 2. The need for a strong partner. 3. Neurotic need to keep his life within a narrow boundary. 4. The need to be strong no matter what. 5. The neurotic need to exploit others. 6. The exaggerated need to win the admiration of others. 7. Neurotic need for success. 8. Neurotic need for independence and self-sufficiency. 9. The neurotic need to gain dignity. 10. The neurotic need to be perfect and to defend against criticism. Although Horney doesn't have a group or a magazine affiliate to her, her work has left a mark on psychology. The Karen Horney Clinic has been a training center for analysts. It is still operating in New York. Humanistic psychology started to develop in America from the first use of the 1960s. Over time, it became the third force in psychology. Well, let's see what the humanistic theory says in summary. Carl Rogers. Before getting to know the theory of Carl Rogers, who was the second humanist psychologist after Maslow, let's give some information about Carl Rogers' childhood. This information will be the answer to the question we asked in the first chapters. Is environment the only factor that determines our lives? Carl Rogers was despised by his parents throughout his childhood. We know that psychologists such as Melanie Klein, Karen Horney, or Carl Rogers were mistreated by their parents when they were still children. However, the spirit of resistance of these children made them the best theorists and psychologists of the century. They are good role models in every way. Let's see what it means to be human according to Carl Rogers. Man is naturally good and positive by nature, a trustworthy organism. Being a human is being enthusiastic for development, being able to make permanent choices in order to step into the future life and acting in accordance with these choices. In addition, the human being is a creature that maintains its life by working consciously and actively to improve itself. At this point, let's add that the basic concept that Rogers using is the concept of self. And the self concept also tells us the concept of filters that we often talk about in NLP. So, what are the concept of self and filters? According to him, human beings are different from others according to their own interpretation and evaluation of their life. According to Rogers, the healthy ego that separates the individual from others is that he can live with others even though he sees different aspects in them. There are two issues to draw our attention here. First, of course, every perception is different. That is what we call a filter. Let's study filters. We all perceive and interpret the world with our own filters. We know that people looking at the same object make very separate comments. The TV series Homeland, which won the Emmy Award, tells the war between America and the Middle East. The series is up-to-date evidence of how different people comment on exactly the same event. A bombing incident in the Middle East is described as patriotic for an American and monstrosity for another American. Of course, this is the situation that is experienced every second of the moment, from everyday events to the war events. Our filters are always at work. We perceive the world through the eyes of our filters. This is actually a challenge for the NLP practitioner, because NLP practitioner or a life coach must have enough knowledge and equipment to be independent of their own filters. This will fit the profile of a professional life coach. Another important concept that Rogers emphasizes is the ideal self. The ideal self expresses the individual's thoughts on what kind of person he or she wants to be. It is the most natural thing that he or she wants to overcome the obstacles That is the reason why one wants to work with a life coach. So we came to a point where we should describe what a healthy mind means for Carl Rogers. This is openness to all experiences, the tendency to live every moment to the fullest, the ability to act with one's own instincts rather than the thoughts or logic of others, a sense of freedom in thoughts and behavior, high level of creativity. Rogers has been very influential in the human potential movement. His work has been an important part of the trend towards the humanization of psychology. So to sum up, I would like to say that I created the life coaching techniques which are explained in this class according to the wisdom of Carl Rogers.